Good afternoon. We kindly ask for you to make your way to your seats as you are able as we prepare to begin for today's event. Before we begin, please enjoy a special video celebrating UHCL's 50th anniversary.
When the university started, I remember that Chancellor Newman always talked about his dream, that the university would be a place where the community could come together.
It's an honor to be here as we dedicate a building and a campus that I believe represent the new Texas, the Texas of tomorrow.
The sculpture called Spiritus Mundi that expresses the tension and the duality of everything in this world, the quest of this world, the strangeness, the mystery, the absurdity, as you describe it, and yet the simplicity of it all.
The University of Houston Clear Lake. Purposeful, intense, a community partner, and an intelligent choice for people who are serious about a degree.
Fits well with our 25th anniversary, in which we are celebrating during this period of time at the University of Houston Clear Lake, where dreamers become achievers, from CEOs and sports analysts to astronauts who actually soar through outer space.
I was there when it transitioned to a four-year university. And I will say something changed during that time. You could feel a difference in the whole university.
Seeing the school grow and become a four-year university and building more buildings and dorms and really growing the whole campus, that to me is exciting.
It was very special to me because I had never heard that UHCL did a ring ceremony. So when I heard about it, I was very excited because, you know, you always hear about the fancy stuff that happens at the bigger universities, and UHCL being a smaller campus, it's nice that they also give this type of college experience.
Today, we gather not just to celebrate a milestone, but to honor a legacy built on the vision and dedication of countless individuals who believed in the power of education to transform lives in and around the Bay Area. May we continue to craft a future that is envisioned in our minds, lived in our hearts, and created by our hands. Here's to the next 50 years and beyond.
Good afternoon, everybody, and happy holidays. My name is Joe Staley. I'm the Vice President for University Advancement here at UHCL, and it's my distinct pleasure to welcome you to this important event entitled Legacy of Leadership. The idea for this event was put forward by UHCL's fourth president and our co-presenter today, Dr. William Staples. Knowing we were planning for a special 50th anniversary year, Dr. Staples reached out to me to offer a means to view his unique insight into our university's journey during his presidency, which spanned 22 years. With his experience, commitment to, and unwavering support of our university, he proposed a historical and forward-looking program that would weave his past leadership success into the current and future leadership of President Richard Walker. This idea was warmly received and supported by President Walker, and with the support of University Advancement, we seemed like we had it all in place. So, knowing a great deal of work was ahead, who did we call? Mary Ann Schallberg. who all know as the dedicated core of UHCL's Office of the President during Dr. Staples' tenure. Today's program, entitled Legacy and Leadership, was off and running. Mary Ann's contributions to the implementation of today's event was invaluable. Together, we ensured key subjects would be discussed. We also solicited questions from attendees in advance to ensure that this is participatory. We are grateful to Mary Ann for her valued thoughts and insights, and to many of you who submitted questions. We also acknowledge the contributions and support of Mrs. Darlene Staples, who is not able to join us today, but was also instrumental in putting this afternoon's presentation together. While we wish we could address all the questions that were submitted in advance of this program, there were over 100 of them, and we thought that might drag the program on just a little bit. So instead, we've collected a representative group of questions from the submissions, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. So now I am pleased to introduce our presenters. Dr. William A. Staples. Under his visionary direction, UHCL became active in the Texas Medical Center with its healthcare administration programs in 2004, launched its first doctoral program, an EDD, in 2007, and opened the UHCL Pearland campus in 2010, and most notably, successfully expanded into a 4-year university in 2014. During this time, UHCL more than doubled the number of endowments from fewer than 75 to 158 in 2016. As your Vice President for Advancement, I thank you for that. This is a clear reflection of the burgeoning support from the university's donors and community partners. And for the first time, UHCL was recognized by U.S. News and World Report as one of the 2016 best regional universities in the West. While UHCL's many accomplishments were the result of the entire campus community, President Staples' enthusiastic guidance led the way, and it did not go unnoticed. With awards garnered from NASA, the YMCA, the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership, and Clear Creek Community Foundation, among others. He worked tirelessly to encourage community engagement, serving on the boards of numerous local organizations, including the Armand Bayou Nature Center and the Pearland Chamber of Commerce. It is also noteworthy that President Staples has a Cougar success story too, having earned his PhD in business administration at UH in 1977. Without question, Dr. Staples was an outstanding administrator and is an admirable leader and individual. Thank you for being here. Dr. Richard Walker. Dr. Walker joined University of Houston Clear Lake as its 6th president on May 20th, 2022, bringing over 40 years of leadership experience in higher education at both public and private institutions. Under his leadership, UHCL has experienced significant success. He led the implementation of UHCL's strategic plan, Impact 2025 and Beyond, Transform, Translate, and Transcend, which has been pivotal in transforming students' lives through experiential learning and workforce readiness. This period has also seen a record-breaking fundraising and grant success in its efforts. Under Dr. Walker's leadership, UHCL marked several notable achievements. During his first year, we graduated our largest class ever. Additionally, his tenure has significantly increased UHCL's economic impact on the local area with a $1.1 billion contribution to the impact of our region. Moreover, UHCL has made considerable strides in national and regional academic standings. In 2024, U.S. News and World Report ranks UHCL climbed 27 places to number 304 nationally and rose to number 12 among public universities in the state of Texas. It also advanced 66 spots to the meaningful category of top performer in social mobility, among national universities. President Walker's impact extends beyond the campus, and he actively contributes to regional and national development. He is a member of the Board of Trustees of HCA Houston Healthcare Clear Lake and on the Board of Directors of Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership. Please welcome Dr. Richard Walker. And now on to our program. Dr. Staples.
Yes, sir.
It's been a while since you've been with us and graced this stage, and we're delighted that you're here.
Thank you.
How does it feel?
It feels great. I was at UHCL for 38 years. I'm now, I'm not afraid to admit it, 76 years old. So half my adult life, or half my life period, was spent here at UHCL. When I come back to campus, it's always a joy to see members of my work family who worked with me and for me during those years. And I often think about, I actually spent more time waking hours with my work family than I did with my home family. And so our faculty and staff who helped us make many of those accomplishments are very near and dear to me. I also want to thank President Walker and Vice President Staley for the invitation to be here. It's a joy to be here, and special thanks to Lori Lopez and the University Advancement staff for coordinating this entire event. I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you for those kind words. And Dr. Walker, how does it feel for you to sit here and share the stage with a pivotal leader in our university's history? And what are you feeling right now?
Well, actually, it's a little bit daunting to be sitting next to the individual who served as president here at UHCL for 22 years. You know, I had the good fortune of knowing and working with Bill. I came to the University of Houston system in 2011 as the Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Services at UH and Vice Chancellor for the system. So in my Vice Chancellor role, I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Staples for about 6 years during the last tenure part of his presidency. Bill and I always had a really positive working relationship. I'm excited that I have been able to step in, and you just mentioned a whole number of accomplishments that happened under his presidency, and some of those I'll talk about how we're moving a lot of those initiatives that he began forward during that conversation. So I am delighted to have the opportunity to share the stage, and I will publicly say Bill has been very supportive since I stepped into this presidency role and sent me a text and congratulated me and has been supportive and said he'll do anything to help me be successful, and I will take him up on that when I need it.
Thanks again to both of you. And now to the questions, some that we're all interested to hear the answers to. Dr. Staples, you were at UHCL for 38 years, 22 of them as president. Please share with us your leadership positions at UHCL to provide some context for the people who are in the audience today.
Well, I'll cover this quickly, but I joined the university in 1979. I came here as an associate professor of marketing in the business school. And back at that time, the university used different titles that were not that common across other universities. My first position of any form of administrative duty was area coordinator for marketing in the School of Business. Then I became program director of management and marketing. Program director here meant one thing. At another university, program director would mean a department chair. Then in 1983, Dean Rosemary Pledger, who was one of the first women deans of a business school in the entire country, needed an associate dean because we were going to pursue AACSB accreditation at the graduate level. We had it at the undergraduate level, and she wanted an associate dean to lead that effort. So she asked President Stauffer if she could add an associate dean, because at that time there weren't any associate deans, nor were there any assistant deans. And so I was very fortunate that Dean Pledger selected me for that position. After that, I was in that position for about 6 years. Then I became dean of the school for about another 6 years, and then I became president in 1995. I often told my students when they asked me, how did I end up where I was, that I had the best job in the university as a professor, and then I lost my way into administration.
Count me among the lost. You mentioned that you started in 1979. Can you share some of your reflections from that era?
Just a couple real quick. I came to the university after teaching at my undergraduate alma mater. And my undergraduate alma mater is Drake University, which is a private university in Des Moines, Iowa. And I was there 3 years. And about the time I left Drake to come here, Drake was just about to celebrate its 100th anniversary. And I was coming to a university that was 5 years old. And so it was somewhat of a transition. But it was a good transition, but a couple of things stood out in those very early days that I was here. One, the Bayou building at that time was complete. My appreciation then and all through my presidency for the charter faculty and staff who came and started a university. You have to think how rare it is to start a university. It's almost unheard of. But to start a university, now for 10 seconds, put yourself in their position. The campus has the Arbor building. It has the Arbor building. And it's breaking ground in 74 on the Bayou building. As I told many of the charter faculty and staff, thank goodness you came here. Because if they had approached me in 1974 and said, here's the Arbor and Bayou that's going to look kind of like the Galleria with the two atria, we want you to come here. I honestly, and I mean this honestly, not sure I would have. The other thing that struck me in the early days, and some of you that were here then, charter faculty and staff and community members will remember, but there was a very controversial event. Judy Chicago's dinner party. Now, if you're not familiar with that, Google it. And I will say for the second time, it was very controversial. It brought more people to campus than you can imagine. And it was in what was called the Developmental Arts Building, which today on this campus is called the Delta Building. But it was a very interesting time in a very early stage of a brand new university.
So let me just give some context. So Dr. Staples arrived in 1979. I was a sophomore in college in 1979.
Oh, that's not nice. That's not nice.
That's enough of that.
Just put it in perspective.
We'll move on to the next question.
Yeah. Moving on. Carrying on to that theme, early on in your presidency, there was the reorganization of the system. So as a new president going through that, what are some of your memories of that event?
It was a very interesting time, and that's not in the good sense. In a matter of a few months, the president and provost of the University of Houston were removed. Shortly after that, the chancellor of the University of Houston system was removed. And all of a sudden, we needed leaders. And the Board of Regents selected former Lieutenant Governor Bill Hobby to come in and serve as interim chancellor. And that was the time that the UH System Board of Regents made the decision that there would not be two separate positions of chancellor of the system and president of the University of Houston. And one of the reasons for that was it was often confusing as to who was speaking for the system. Was it the chancellor or was it the president of the University of Houston? And it was also a time that if you think about the UH system then and even still today, the Texas A&M and University of Texas systems are basically statewide. The University of Houston system is basically a very high-quality urban-suburban system that has its own niche, because that's a very important example of a very credible urban-suburban system. And so they decided to search for one person who would wear both hats. And that person, they selected Dr. Arthur Smith, who was at that time the president of the University of Utah. He was later followed by Dr. Jay Gouge, who was later followed by our current chancellor and president of UH, Dr. Renu Couture.
Well, thank you for that. As you're speaking, led so beautifully to the next question. You of course, were at UHCL during the presidencies of Drs. Newman, Stauffer, and Gerke. What are your memories of them?
In the interest of time, I'll be brief, but Dr. Newman was actually appointed chancellor of what would be UHCLC in 1972. 2 years before the university actually opened. And he served until 1982. But you can't really mention Dr. Newman without also mentioning at the same time Mrs. Newman. Mrs. Newman, or Selma, was a force by herself. They were both trained musicians. Dr. Newman had been the Dean of Arts and Sciences at U of H. And he was a close friend of the then president, an outstanding individual, Dr. Phil Hoffman. And Dr. Hoffman selected Dr. Newman to come to the university. And so it was a very interesting time, again, a startup university. One of the things I found interesting when I joined the faculty at that time is that we were all the faculty were in interdisciplinary suites. So in the faculty suite I was assigned to, we had faculty from all 4 schools. Now today we call them colleges here at UHCL, but I got a chance to meet some faculty from other schools that I really probably wouldn't have met or got to know as I did because of the interdisciplinary suites. But Dr. Newman and the charter faculty and staff and Mrs. Newman, I honestly believe you're sitting in the Bayou Theater because of Dr. Newman and Mrs. Newman's love for the arts. They were both trained musicians. And they had a love for the Houston Symphony and when they were working at U of H. And I truly believe Bayou Theater is a result of Dr. and Mrs. Newman wanting to be part of UHCL.
Well, thank you for that. And you know, another signature event that happened during your presidency is transitioning our healthcare administration program from UHCL to the Texas Medical Center. Can you share with us what made that possible?
Perseverance. That was not very easy, to be honest. Basically, at those times, if you were going to take a degree program into a new geographical area, you had to let other universities who were teaching in that area know it. And at that time, Texas Woman's University, whose home campus is in Denton, Texas, they were teaching healthcare administration in the medical center. And I went to Denton to meet with their president and provost. And it was a cordial meeting, but very nicely they said, no, we don't want you in the med center. Now I'm biased, but I'll tell you why I think they didn't want us in the med center, is we simply had a better program, and they knew it. The other lesson I learned then is when people say no, it doesn't necessarily mean no forever. So you take it, you go back to work. And what really swung the pendulum, and this gets back to having good partners and good friends. At that time, the president and CEO of the Memorial Hermann Healthcare System was Dan Wilford. Dan Wilford and I, over the years, became good friends. The head of Methodist Hospital was Larry Mathis, and we became good friends. Well, if Memorial Hermann Healthcare System and Methodist Hospital want your program in the med center, it's coming. And that's what did it. And so with their support and the value again of good partners, strong partners that had real clout, we got the program in there. And it was an accomplishment, but I'm so delighted, and I mean more than delighted, with what Dr. Walker has made possible in this last year. It gives the program a firm foundation, and I'm very grateful.
So I'm very grateful that you got it into the Texas Medical Center, although be in the bottom of a parking garage owned by the Texas Medical Center. The good news is they decided they needed to demolish that garage for other uses. And as a result, many of you all may know, or if you don't know, we went on my first, as interim president, the provost and I were both interim, we had to go on a hunt for a new location. We couldn't have landed a better location. We are now on the 14th floor of the Fannin Tower. And that doesn't mean much to most people, but if you know the medical center at all, it's the all-glass tallest building in the medical center. It's owned by Texas Children's Hospital. They're our landlord. But we occupy the entire 14th floor. And we opened that for business back in last January. We currently have 179 undergraduate students in our program, healthcare administration, 140 master's students. Many of you may know Raymond Curry, who served as the director of that program for about 15 years. Raymond is retiring, and as a result, Dr. Jordan Mitchell is our new director of that program. We are just super excited about the opportunity that being in this location means for us. As many of you know, we have a lot, and you referenced leadership within the medical center, but we have a lot of our graduates around the state who are in very significant roles in healthcare. And one of them happens to be the CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas currently. And so it's been great for me to see who's come through that program as we did an open house and a reception and bringing people into the space to hear them tell their stories about their experiences and the why, to your point, the program was so good. And it continues to be, and it continues to be one of our signature programs at the university and within our College of Business. So thank you for what you did, and we will continue to move this program forward as we move ahead.
Just add to that very quickly. When we had the Master's in Healthcare Administration, but when we added the MHA MBA joint degree, it became even more popular. Yeah. And I just want to also add on to what President Walker has said. Having Raymond Curry in that position, many of you may not know Raymond, but Raymond was a former CEO of a healthcare organization in Houston. And his credibility at that time of the program being in the Med Center was absolutely critical. Because when he talked to other chief executive officers, he was talking to people that he knew personally, and they knew him personally. And it just added tremendous respect to the program. So Raymond, wherever you are, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for that. And I'm going to pivot here. We've got so much ground to cover. So we could have probably a whole program on the hospital administration program. But I'd like to talk a little bit about UHCL offering doctoral degrees, which the first one was approved in 2006. That must have been quite a journey. I think we'd all like to hear more about that process.
Well, I'm a believer in strategic moments. A strategic moment is when you interact with an individual or an event that leads to something greater. It was always assumed that the doctoral programs would be at the University of Houston and not at any of the other three universities within the system. And it all came about because of one magic moment. I'd invited the chairman of the Board of Regents, Maury Abramson, to come to commencement and bring greetings to the graduates on behalf of the Board of Regents. Now, Maury Abramson was a wonderful individual, very successful at business. He was the president of Kent Electronics, and just a peach of a guy. I mean, he was just nice in every way you can think of. And I asked him if he wanted to shake the graduates' hands when they came across the stage. And we had a lot of graduates and a lot of hands to shake. And he said, "Bill, sure, I'd be happy to. I want to." So we were standing up there, and some of you will remember we'd do the bachelor candidates, and then there was a pause, and we would do the master's candidates. And Maury leaned over to me and he said, "Bill, you have a lot of master's students." I said, "Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do." He said, "How many doctoral programs do you have?" I said, "We don't have any." He said, "Why is that?" I said, "Well, because it's been assumed that those programs would only be at the University of Houston." Maury Abramson had a great smile. He looked at me, he winked, and he said, and this was at commencement on the stage, he said, "Bill, we're going to work on that one." We went to the strategic planning retreat for the UH system at the Houstonian Hotel, an annual event. And out of the blue, I didn't ask him to do it. Maury Abramson asked then Chancellor Jay Gouge, "Jay, is it possible for UHCL to have doctoral programs?" Well, when the chairman of the Board of Regents asked the chancellor if it's possible, any chancellor in their right mind says, "Yes, sir, that's possible." Well, it became possible. And literally, without Maury Abramson, it wouldn't have happened. At one point, as nice a person as he was also very pragmatic. And he said, "Bill, if we can get this done, can your people deliver?" And I said, "Our people can deliver." And so the educational leadership, then curriculum instruction, and then the most recent one, the health service psychology, the PsyD. Thank Maury Abramson. Unfortunately, he's passed on, but without him, I'm pretty sure it either wouldn't have happened or would have taken a long time.
Well, Bill, you'll be pleased to know that those doctoral programs are thriving. The one in health services psychology, just this last year, we got full accreditation. Mm-hmm. So now they're fully accredited as a program. And this fall of 2024, we saw a 59% increase in enrollment in our doctoral programs. Wow. So what you established and what you started, yes, the faculty here at UHCL are delivering on doctoral programs. And back to your whole system issue, I understand that system issue.
Yeah.
Downtown has tried with Chancellor Couture to put forth doctoral programs, and she has said no consistently. So for now, under her leadership, they'll be at UH and UH Clear Lake.
Dr. Staples, you worked with another legend of our area, Mayor Tom Reed in Pearland, to create UHCL Pearland. I think we'd all be interested to hear the highlights of how that progressed and to become UHCL Pearland and such an important part of our university.
Well, the very simple answer, and I'll expand slightly, it happened because of Tom Reed. Tom Reed was the mayor of Pearland. His real job, he was an engineering graduate from the University of Texas at Austin, but he worked at Johnson Space Center. So he worked on Gemini and Apollo and Skylab, the various programs over there. But he was the mayor of Pearland also. Put this in perspective. He was the mayor of Pearland for 44 years. I thought being president 22 was a long time. When I started working with him, he was 77 years old in 2004. How did it happen? I got a phone call. "Hi, Bill, I'm Tom Reed. I want you to come visit my city." I didn't know him very well. I knew of him, but didn't know him well. He also called the chancellor, Jay Gouge, at the time. He said, "Please come out and visit us." We went out there. At one point he stopped, he put us in an SUV and we drove around Pearland. We saw all of Pearland. At one point he pulled out a map. He said, "You see this area right here? We own that land. City of Pearland owns that land." He said, "I'd like to see UH Clear Lake there." Please understand, UHCL, we didn't have money to build a building. We didn't have money to build the land. They had it. And he said, we want you here. Jay Goose said to me, what do you think? I said, Chancellor, if they're willing to provide the land and the first building, we would be foolish not to get over there. He and I became good friends. He passed away last year at age 97. And every time he had his annual Chamber of Commerce State of the City address, he used the same theme each year. And he would say, I'm building a city. And that is, in fact, what he did. But what it became was a team effort. Well, who was the team? Mayor Reed led the team. Bill Eisen was city manager. Fred Welch was the economic development director. The Pearland City Council, the Pearland Chamber of Commerce, the Pearland Economic Development Corporation, and then Senator Larry Taylor, who recently retired, and State Representative Ed Thompson, who was the state rep from Pearland, with also support from Dennis Paul here in Clear Lake, where we not only did the city build the first building, but then we got the money for the second building. And the year we got the money for the second building from the legislature, there were 38 universities. That year, 4 universities received 2 capital construction grants. One was our STEM building here. The other was the Health Sciences and Classroom building in Pearland. Why? Because of that team effort. You got to have partners. And when you got a lot of partners, it really works. The last editorial comment I'll make is this. Tom Reed has a building over there, a post office named for him. He has a library named for him. In all honesty, the first building at our Pearland campus should be named for Tom Reed.
So let me provide some
I noticed that, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So let me provide some current context of where we are today at Pearland. Kevin Cole is the mayor that came in after Tom Reed. We have a great relationship with Kevin. Dr. Beth Lewis, who's sitting here in the audience, is our Associate Vice President and Chief Operating Officer. She has done a tremendous job in terms of getting the community in Pearland to know that we are there and to utilize our facilities and to be of service. And in fact, in this last year, we hosted 688 events on the Pearland campus with 7,666 attendees. That is significant because it doubled from the year before. In Pearland now, it's home to our nursing program. We just launched a Master of Science in Nursing Education and Leadership this fall, and that's significant because that program is an accelerated program and it serves 2 major workforce needs in our area. One is if you earn this degree from the education perspective, you're able to teach in the Bachelor's of Nursing programs within the community college system, and they are desperately needing more professors. From a leadership perspective, it qualifies those who receive this master's degree to go into nursing leadership within the hospital system. You heard earlier that I'm on the board of directors for, board of trustees for ACA Clear Lake, and nursing shortages and nursing leaderships is significant. And it's an accelerated program. Let me point out, UH has this program. We're about 14 credits lower to achieve our program than you go to UH. So which program are you going to come to if you want to get this degree? You're going to come to our program in Clear Lake. The other thing is Dr. Lewis and her team have done a great job. They're now, Clear Lake, Pearland is now home to our professional and continuing education programs. We're trying to centralize that more, still working with all the colleges and their programs, but creating a more centralized operation and system, and have been providing some support and training for a lot of things. One most significant, we're getting ready to do our 3rd cohort, is we have an agreement with Houston Airport Systems to do project management training for them. The previous head of the Houston Airport, Mario Diaz, came to us and said, I've got so many projects and you've been watching the news and you know about Bush. Yes, he has so many projects, and he said, my people need better training in project management. We know that based on the construction going on in Bush. So we have done we're starting our third cohort this summer, and we're training the next, so we've done 30, and another cohort of 30. So we will have trained 90. But I say all that to say, and also about your point about naming something in the Pearland campus, Dr. Lewis and Mayor Cole are working on with Mr. Staley on an initiative to figure out something that we're thinking about raising some funds for to name something on our Pearland campus in honor of Tom Reed.
Great.
So, as if all that wasn't enough, in 2014, UHCL became a four-year university. What led to that decision?
The whole concept of upper-level universities. There was a time when across the United States there were about 30 upper levels, including various upper levels here in this state, in our state of Texas. And over time, they transitioned to four-year universities for a variety of reasons. I think it was first talked about as a possibility, and at the time, I think a remote possibility of doing it, even as far back as the 1980s. When you think about the establishment of UHCL, it was partially for graduate education for NASA and to serve the various community colleges in the area, of which, as you know, there are many within a relatively short distance. So it had been talked about, and there were people that raised the issue again. So I asked Chancellor Couture, would she be supportive? And she said she would. And Victoria was going through the change as well. And so I started working on it with key people here at the university. And the initial reaction, not surprisingly, was that community colleges said, we'd prefer you not do that. And then we finally kind of got them to change their mind, and we were all set to go to the legislature. And at the 11th hour, and I mean the 11th hour, they said, we don't want you to do it, okay? And they had some clout with the legislature about us not doing that. Dr. Couture and our board chairman at that time, Board of Regents, was Welcome Wilson. Just an unbelievable human being, Welcome Wilson. One of the most interesting men I've ever met in my entire life. And they both said, okay, we'll back off now, but next session, let's go back. We want to make this happen. And I remember Chancellor Couture, who I thoroughly enjoyed working for and with, she said, as only she can say it, Bill, make it happen. What did it again was having partners. Because all of a sudden, we got support from the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership. We got support from the Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce. We got support from Senator Mike Jackson and State Representative John Davis, who carried the legislation and eventually signed by Governor Perry at the time. And so, do I think it was the right change? I do, because it gives another pathway into UHCL. So you've got the graduate pathway, you've got the community college transfer pathway, and now you have the freshman-sophomore pathway. And needing those pathways of how students can access UHCL. And I think longer term, as Houston gets bigger and more crowded, and traffic becomes even more of a problem, and it's a problem, as you know, having different universities, whether it's Clear Lake or Pearland or Sugar Land or Katy, is going to be very important. And it even positions the UH system further, in my opinion, as a premier urban-suburban system that other major urban areas probably would like to copy for their own communities. So it was a big undertaking, but I do think for now and especially the future of UHCL, it was the right undertaking.
Well, and since we're celebrating 10 years, we started our first freshman class in 2014. So this fall in 2024, we had our largest number of freshman applications ever in the first 10 years of taking freshmen. And we have our largest freshman class ever. Now, our goal had been 500. We didn't quite get there. We got to 475, but still the largest freshman class ever. And to your point, I think that's one of our opportunities from an enrollment growth perspective, that we will start to see a lot more applications, a lot more yielding of students coming here as a freshman. You know, the interesting thing for me when I came here, and the stories I've heard as I've been here from folks who, many of you who got your degrees here and came here, we were the right institution for them at that point in their lives. We will continue to be that. Our average undergraduate is still 26 years old, age-wise, 32 years old for master's. It'll be a long time if we ever get to the traditional 18 to 22-year-old.
True.
But to your point, it is another pathway and opportunity for students who want a full 4-year college experience, and they don't want to go to a large campus, because that's not the environment they will be successful in. And that's what I've noticed about the students who choose to come here. And we've also noticed it about students who go to the large institutions and after a semester transfer to us because it was too much for them. And I think it allows us to provide another access point and accessibility for students who want to stay closer to home and stay in this area. At the same time, now that we have a residence hall that we opened in 2018, a traditional residence hall, we've expanded our recruitment area for freshmen. We were very, I'd said a circle about this big around Clear Lake. We're now in a map around this big around the greater Houston area, because we've got the opportunity to expand that opportunity to provide that true 4-year experience.
Well, thank you both for that. Dr. Staples, you're credited with coining the phrase that refers to UHCL as partnership-oriented, community-minded, student-centered university. Why was that so important to you?
It's important for a number of reasons. One, if you think about the establishment of UHCLC, it was basically for two reasons. One was NASA, and without NASA and JSC, we would not be here, because the original letter went from Dr. Gilruth at JSC to Dr. Hoffman at the University of Houston. So we're here because of NASA. The second thing, we're here because Humble Oil and Friendswood Development Corporation gave the university 500 acres. Who in their right mind gives away 500 acres? To get 500 acres of property as a gift is unheard of. Literally unheard of. So that's the community part. I'm a big believer. If I have a triangle in my mind, and the triangle on one point has education, the other point has business, and the other point has government. So educational partnerships, school districts, community colleges, other universities, businesses, Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership, Clear Lake Chamber, Pearland Economic Development Corporation, and then all the individual businesses like Boeing and so forth. And then government. If you're a state institution, you better have a good relationship with state legislators. And it doesn't hurt to have a good relationship with area mayors, i.e. Tom Reed, and as well as your federal legislators. If you get that combination working effectively, education, business, and government, you really have something. And what's been a hallmark of this community, Clear Lake, the Clear Lake area, has been that. That triangle of participants has a pretty good track record of working together to make things happen. And so I'm a big believer in partnerships. Whether it was Dan Wilford or Tom Reed or state legislators, they make things happen. And those partnerships to the success of this university are absolutely critical. And the last thing is student success. When I say student-centered, we're really talking about student success. We're here to help students be successful. If that's our legacy, that's a great legacy. Helping someone get an education and having student success.
Well, and we're continuing with that theme today. It's really important to us. Student success, and the provost and I talk about this all the time, that's our number one priority. Our goal is to get our students to come to this institution and earn the degree that they desire to earn in a timely manner, and to see them succeed and get out into the workforce. And to that point, we track our community and industry partnerships on an annual basis. This last year, we documented, and I know we didn't get them all, but 549 community and industry partnerships in the greater Bay Area of Houston. And that is very significant because workforce development needs, understanding what those needs are, working with the community colleges and the businesses to say, how do you advance what they're learning in community college, what the four-year degree is going to achieve for them, really focusing in on what they're learning in the classroom with regard to experiential learning opportunities. I think we're positioned uniquely as the size of institution we are to really establish those connections for our students. We used to refer to everything as internships. I don't like that. When I was in college, an internship meant you correlated, stapled, filed, and that's about your experience. No. What's important today is that students apply what they are learning right now in the classroom to these experiential learning opportunities, connecting them to the workforce and industry development. And we've done some significant work in that area and continuing those partnerships and those collaborations.
We've reached our final question. And Dr. Staples, and just with a couple minutes left, do you have any advice for Dr. Walker that you'd like to give him? And if so, what is it?
I'll just say the last thing a current sitting president needs is advice from an old president. It's bad enough that he has to walk by that photo every day and say, okay, here are all these other people. In all seriousness, though, my advice comes from, I hate to admit this in one sense, comes from reading leadership books. When my wife and I would go on vacation, I'll cover this quickly. She's a voracious reader, and she'll have her Kindle and she reads, and she loves to read. She reads every day. I'd go on vacation with her and she'd say, what are you bringing to read? And I'd say, well, this current book on leadership. And she'd say, oh my gosh, you're going to read about leadership? I said, yes, I am, because I want to pick up one or two good ideas. One of the books I read was Good to Great by Jim Collins. And it was distinguishing between good organizations and great organizations. And the common denominator for great organizations is that you have to attract and retain as many good people as you can, because everything else will change. Markets change, competition changes, technology changes, but if you can attract and retain enough good people, your organization is likely to be very successful. And so the focus has to be on the people. And when I say that, and I would say this to our employees when I would meet with them, I mean everybody. I don't mean just the people that have president and vice president titles. I mean everybody. And the example I always used in our Leaders in Action class that we had was the people mowing the property. And people would look at me kind of quizzically, and I'd say, you think those people aren't important? Their job is they mow the property. And we have so darn much property that by the time they're done, they have to start over again. Mm-hmm. You think that is not important? Let me tell you. If you're a first-time student visitor, if you're a parent of a student, a prospective student, if you're a community member that's coming to the campus for the first time, what's their first impression? It'll be the condition of the property. And if you have something that looks good, they oftentimes assume that things are good. If you have a piece of property that looks bad, they oftentimes assume the worst. It takes everybody. And just remember the jobs you're doing, whether they're back office, front of the class, wherever, is that you're helping someone to get an education. And as we have more and more first-generation college students, you are changing that person's life forever. And you're probably changing the lives of people in that person's family forever. Because if they have siblings, if that first one gets across the goal line, there's probably more coming. And there's no better legacy to have that you help someone get an education. And whatever your job is in the university, whatever it is, you're helping this institution provide people with a first-class educational opportunity.
Well, thank you very much for that.
So we must have taken the same leadership classes, because I couldn't agree more with his advice in his perspective. It all is about success for our students, and I speak at orientation for new student employees, every new orientation. So there's everybody there, from a groundskeeper to a housekeeper to a administrative assistant, no matter what. And I tell them, each one of you will have an impact on the success of this institution and our students by how you interact with our students, with our faculty, with our staff, with our visitors, with our parents. Everything everybody does at this institution makes a difference in terms of how they perceive this institution. And I have always told folks, when I've been asked to speak to younger professionals coming up in the profession about leadership and success, and I always say to them, I firmly believe that my 43 years of success in higher education has been due to the fact that I'm able to build strong relationships across the entire institution and in the community. And I don't say that braggadociously, but a president can't do this all by themselves. They've got to, to your point, you have to hire really good people. I don't know everything. And what do I know about an HVAC system? Not a lot, but I can ask some questions about an HVAC system. But you've got to surround yourself, and the community's got to have the buy-in, to your point, to help our students be successful. And to your point, there's nothing better as an educator to watch those students walk across that commencement stage having achieved their dream.
Thank you both for that. There is but two things remaining to do in this presentation. The first is, on behalf of all at UHCL, to thank you all very much for being here this afternoon. We're most appreciative of that. And of course, to thank our co-presenters, Dr. Staples and Dr. Walker, for bringing their counsel and advice and remembrances to all of us. We're so appreciative of that. And thank you for spending time with us. To that end, Dr. Walker.
Dr. Staples, I'm supposed to present you a gift.
Okay.
On behalf of the University of Houston Clear Lake. It's a really pretty bag. Your wife might want to keep this. It's got the 50th anniversary logo on it. I'm sure she will keep it and use it at a future time. But thank you so much for being here and joining us today.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon we've reflected on both our past and our future. One common truth stands out. Our university has always been about more than education. It's about inspiring people to reach higher, dream bigger, and make a lasting impact. And as we head into the new year, we're excited to formally launch our new brand. This next video captures the essence of that brand, our journey, and the bold future we aim to create. Now, I invite you to experience the story of UHCL and inspire higher.
College isn't a destination. It's a path to something greater, like a dream job, a better future, or even space. And if you're ready for the journey, the University of Houston Clear Lake is ready to remove any potential barriers so that you can reach your full potential. Aspire to bigger things. No matter which of the 90 undergraduate, graduate, or doctoral programs you choose, all roads lead to careers. Be it educating future generations in one of our partner school districts, innovating with leading aerospace industries, driving change in business, or shaping culture and society through the liberal arts. Let your passions take flight. Be inspired by the natural beauty of our Clear Lake campus, the diverse programs at our Pearland location, and the groundbreaking healthcare innovation at our Texas Medical Center location. Be heard and learn from professors who know you by name. Live and learn with night and online classes that work around your schedule. Connect and collaborate with peers as diverse and unique as you and committed to improving their lives. Prepare a path for a life full of opportunities and invest in a future where the benefits outweigh the financial burdens. Set your sights higher, because for every obstacle in your way, there's a dedicated professor who can show you a way. For every career path that seems unclear, there's a CEO, astronaut, or former hawk who's already forged one. For every passion you may discover, there's a lab, trail, or platform where you can learn, explore, or shine as a leader. Follow your ambitions, and you might be surprised by who you inspire along the way. Inspire higher at UHCL.
So as we conclude this program, I want to be sure to wish you all the very best for happy holidays. And know that we look forward to spending time with you at a reception right outside the theater in Atrium 1. So we look forward to seeing you there. And again, please join me in thanking our co-presenters, Dr. Staples and Dr. Walker. Thank you.